In this lecture, we're going to create the iPhone app interaction with the LLM that we have on our server. So in order to do this, we're going to use the interface that opens it to the world, because as soon as you have an iPhone app that you're developing, or even an Android app, you need to interact with some kind of a network that's available online. And that's why we created this interface with Enro. All right, so let me give you a little diagram of what we're going to be doing. But first, let's go to the terminal. I'm going to go to the Enro, and this is the domain that we're going to be interacting with. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here inside of my text editor. And so we're going to be interacting with this, but not just like exactly with just that. We're going to be interacting with the exact calls that I showed you earlier. So if you go to Safari, you should see those calls, right? So V1 chat completion. So those are the interaction that we do right now. So that would be not just this, but this. So that would be, so we'll go from, we'll have the iPhone app. So iPhone app that we create with, let's say, well, let me put some space here. So we have the iPhone app that we're developing using Xcode. This has a UI, so has a user interface to enter. So what's inside of that user interface? It has definitely a text input, and it has, let's say, an output, right? So for the output, that could be a text area output to show the prompt reply, and this will interact with an interface. So we need to create an iPhone network interface. What do I mean by network interface? Well, it's something to interact with the network, and that network will interact with this, right? So that will, let me put it on another line. So that will interact with this, which is the so that's called the, let's call that the backend API, which will interact with what? You guys should know by now, because we've done it together. This will interact with the local API interface of LM Studio, which we all know is inside of LM Studio. That's the URL here on port 1234. So that's what it will be interacting with. I'm going to copy and paste this here. So it will be interacting with this. Also, same, it would be interacting at this chat completion as well, because that's the call we make. And finally, this interacts. So this calls the LLM chat system, which goes and it questions, or yes, questions the model, the LLM, or the model, right? The model. The trained model, let's say that's a trained model, which would be, what would be the trained model in, for example, here we have Lama 2, right? Lama 2, Mistral, Zephyr, there might be others, and so on, right? And that returns the, let's call the tokens. And what's the token? Basically, the tokens is the prompt reply, which would be the you know, the answer that we call the answer, right? And then all of this goes back to the top. So all of this goes back as a returns the network response. And we all know what the response, like the 200 OK plus the body of response. So what do I mean by this? The body of the response? Well, the body of the response, if you take a look here, that's okay. That's the call, and that's the response. And it's a 200 OK, and you see the body. That's called the body, which contains the content. So the content has the response. So body response content, which also goes back to the app, right? So gets into the app into the iPhone app interface, which is this network interface that we created, iPhone app network interface. So we need to parse it. We parse the response, or extract the response, body's content, and then that goes to the iPhone user interface here. So then the iPhone user interface displays the content in the text area output. All right, and that's it. I know that's a lot going on here. Feel free to go through this again. Honestly, I will watch this part of the lesson at least 2 to 3 times just to understand the order. Depending on how you like to learn, some people like to learn with the theory, some others prefer to learn with the example. So if you're not so sure right now, let's just jump to the next lecture so that we go through the code and then come back here to take a look at this. But I will go back to this at some point so that we can review it together. All right.